know that a lot of you shared the same disappointment regarding the subplots in the story. This is why, in this video, I will compile a list of all the things and subplots that the show left hanging in the air. Hopefully, Season 5 will address some of them. This list is in no particular order. I'll just mention them as I remember. Let's start with the cliffhanger from the first season, The Lighthouse. 30 episodes later, and we still haven't learned a single thing about it. The only other time it was mentioned was when Tabitha went through the faraway tree, reached the lighthouse, met the boy in white for the first time, and then after being pushed through the window, magically arrived in the real world. I would also add these questions to the list of unanswered mysteries. Why did Tabitha return to the real world? And why is that the only way? The only reason I can think of is that she needed to bring back either Henry or Iosta. Another big mystery regarding the lighthouse that was never mentioned again was the ship horn. I think this was a pretty big deal. Yet Boyd and Sarah never brought it up again. They weren't even curious about what it could be. What could make a sound like that in the middle of the woods? The spider storyline is another subplot that needs to be addressed in Season 5. All those spider webs, the spiders that appeared during Jade's mushroom trip, the spiders in Victor's drawings, and the one Ethan mentioned, none of it led to any conclusion. Does this mean we will be introduced to a new entity in Season 5? Could it mean that the man in yellow's true form is actually a spider? There is some evidence that could support this theory. One example is the fact that when Sophia revealed herself to Clara, she did so by showing her true eye color. There are also theories suggesting that the symbol Jade saw actually represents spider legs. Moving forward, another plotline that was left unresolved, at least in my opinion, is the kimono lady. She suddenly appeared, manipulated Elgin into helping Fatima give birth to Smiley, and then completely disappeared. Does that mean this is all we're going to get from her? I understand that her purpose was fulfilled, but that's not how you properly close an arc. There's a clear difference between the monsters and the kimono lady. The monsters are shown wearing Western-style clothing, most likely American, while the kimono lady is dressed in Eastern-style clothing, most likely Japanese. Just by comparing their clothing styles, we can see that there is a distinction between them. So why was she never mentioned again? Was she part of the original bargain? Was she helping the entity that controls that place? What is the deal with the forest settlement? Who built that place? What is its history? And what about those dolls? Is that really all we're going to get about them? Was their entire purpose simply to show us that nightmares can become real in that place? But if that were true, then how was Sophia able to bring Roger back to life when he looked exactly like one of those creatures? I was expecting at least a little explanation about the origin of that place, enough to help us properly understand how it works. But the only explanation we got so far is that the place operates through rituals. That's it. I still have two big questions about how this place works. First, what exactly was Sophia chanting? How does the magic work there? And second, how is it that hope seems to be the answer to everything? I think the answer to both of those questions is connected. We just need someone to finally explain it. Moving forward, one of the subplots that has always kept me intrigued is the dogs. They always appear whenever something important is happening. We saw them lead Boyd to the Talisman Cave and later guide him to Victor's truck. We also usually see the dogs alongside the boy in white. So what is the deal with them? How come the boy in white now appears alone without the dogs? And what is the deal with the crows? Are they good? Are they bad? No one really knows. The same can be said about the jukebox. After episode 9, we saw that the jukebox doesn't just act randomly. There is a logic behind it. So what is that logic? Now let's move on to the golem. Is there really anything left to say? We spent around 40 minutes watching a mud sculpture that ultimately did nothing. Hopefully it will become important in Season 5, because I can't think of any reason why they would spend so much time on it otherwise. Maybe they'll do something similar to the picture of Dorian Gray, where Fatima's soul, or the monster inside her, is transferred into the golem and vice versa, allowing her to remain human by the end of the series. One more thing that was introduced and then left hanging was Abby's ghost. There was no conclusion to that storyline. As viewers, we can connect it to Henry's hallucinations, but that's about it. Are you really saying that this was the entire purpose behind all of Boyd's hallucinations? And what about the other poltergeist we saw this season? The ghost haunting the Matthews family was first introduced in episode 1. And then, 9 episodes later, it just randomly reappeared. What's even crazier is that no one seems to care. I mean, your entire kitchen starts flying around and you're just like, oh, that's normal. Need to mention it. Another storyline that felt like wasted screen time was Aosta clearing out the basement. What was the point of that? Wouldn't it have made more sense for Aosta to discover Sophia's photo? At least then you could justify all the time spent in the basement. But nope. All we got was Aosta sitting on a rock looking at a Polaroid with Jim's ghost appearing at the end of episode 2. And with the confirmation that the Lake of Tears is real, I was expecting that to become the focus of the season finale. The Lake of Tears has been an important mystery since season 1. So seeing it finally confirmed in season 4 made me think we were heading toward the end game. But after episode 4, it was never mentioned again. And everyone treated it as if it was simply Ethan dealing with his grief. I just can't understand how they can introduce something as a major cliffhanger and then completely disregard it afterward. Just look at the door they found in the Colony House basement. What about the other unresolved details, like the number 47? Why is it so important? To be honest, I wasn't expecting this season to answer that question, but I would still add it to the list of unresolved mysteries. I think the reveal will come near the end of the series when we finally learn the full truth about the sacrifice. Another massive question is, how do the faraway trees actually work? There has to be some kind of logic behind them. We saw the boy in white stop Tabitha from going through the tree, telling her that she wouldn't end up at the lighthouse anymore. That means the destination of the trees can somehow change. But what determines where they take you? Is someone controlling them, or do they follow a specific set of rules? So far, the show hasn't given us any answers. In the end, we're only 1 season away from the finale, and we barely know anything about this place. Why were Randall and Boyd left alive? How can people dream about this place before they've ever been there? I'm not talking about Jade or Tabitha. I mean people like Elgin or Abby. Is the man in yellow the ultimate villain? Or is it the red entity from the cave drawings? And besides leaving so many storylines unresolved, this season also started leaving characters pushed to the sidelines. Donna has basically become a babysitter. Alice is still just as useless as ever. Patty and Clara suddenly received a lot of screen time. Sophia was walking from house to house throughout the town, and no one even questioned it. I'm sure there are many more unfinished subplots. These are just the ones I could think of off the top of my head. As things stand, Season 5 has a lot of questions to answer. And if they follow the same formula they've always used, revealing most of the answers in the final 2 episodes, I honestly worry there won't be enough time to wrap everything up properly. Do you think we'll get a satisfying conclusion to this show? Or will it end up being another Lost? Thank you for watching.